Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Let's have some fighting words. In this video, I want to talk about Josh Taylor, and I want to talk about him possibly moving up to 147 pounds. So as we all know, Josh Taylor just fought Jack Catterall, and he won just by the hairs of his chinny chin chin. I mean, it was that close. Frankly, I felt as if he lost, but that's my opinion. Moving on. Basically, he just looked a shell of himself in this fight. Now, to be clear, let me paint a picture. Josh Taylor has been plagued with injuries. I'm talking about his knee, his elbow, his shoulder, his hand. He's just been plagued with injuries. Then, he got sick. Then he had like a throat something, like bronchitis or something like that. He's just been plagued with injuries and sickness. So when you look at the fight with Jack Catterall, one could argue, well, maybe, he just wasn't his best self on that night due to all the things that has plagued him as of lately. And that's a strong argument. The other thing would be the weight, which is the reason for this video. But before we go any further, I just want to say, if you like what you're hearing, please like, please share so that I can make more content. Share it with your buddies, share it with whoever, but I want to make more content, but I also need more subscribers. So if you like what you're hearing, please like, also please share, and please drop a comment down below. Back to the video. So that's one of the reasons why, you could say he had such a lackluster performance against Catterall. However, the other thing that you could clearly see, which was the physicality, he looked like a skeleton. I mean, I honestly don't know how he made that weight. He literally looked like a skeleton. He did not look healthy. And, he certainly didn't perform that well. And again, speaking of arguments, because I always like to be fair, you could make the argument he wasn't 100% due to the weight cut. And he mentioned the weight cut after the fight. He mentioned the weight cut before the fight. And when it comes to Josh Taylor making 140 pounds, it's always been an issue and a concern. And, like he mentioned after the fight, this might be it. I don't know if I can do this again, to be honest with you. I don't know if I can make this weight again. And if you're going to look like that when you make the weight, maybe you should go up. And I'm not just talking about his physical self, how he looked like a skeleton. His face was sunk in. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the performance, which that would have an effect on your performance, your speed, your coordination, your power. It would have an effect on all those things. Even your mental, you might get drained a little bit easier. Even your mental. So with that being said, the only natural progression would be to go up in weight, in which case, you're the champ at Undisputed champ at 140, so now you're going to move up to 147 pounds. Okay, well, who would you fight at 147 pounds? Well, they've had this little thing going back and forth. Terence Bud Crawford, and Josh Taylor. That would be a great fight. I got to be honest, although I think it would be a great fight, I just don't see any way that Josh Taylor could win, and I'll tell you why. If this last performance with Josh Taylor was any indication what he, would do against a bigger guy, a welterweight, full welterweight, I don't know. I don't like it for him. I really don't like it for him because I don't feel like there's anything he can do. Jack Catterall was smaller than him, and yet Jack Catterall put him down. And he could not put Catterall down, and he popped him a few times. So you got to think, not to mention skill-wise, Josh Taylor's not the type of guy who hits you with, sharp, clean shots. From time to time, he can get a little messy. He can get a little sloppy. His most recent performance was more than an example of that. He can more than get sloppy. And I think with an opponent like Terence Crawford, Josh Taylor is literally right up his alley. Josh Taylor will literally stalk you, not necessarily cut off the ring, but just stalk you, which works in Terence Crawford's favor. Josh Taylor likes to dip down low. That would work in Terence Crawford's favor. Not only is he a switch hitter, but He's a great body puncher, but also his hooks and his shovel hooks in particular, it would again just work in his favor. And when you look at Terence Crawford's last performance against Shawn Porter, who is naturally shorter and he likes to dip down low because he bursts with energy, so it's just like, I don't like that for Josh Taylor. I really don't. I think that's a very bad matchup. And I think it's very bad matchmaking from whomever would just put those two together. If I was in Josh Taylor's corner, if I was in his inner circle, I would definitely say, like, well, why don't we get our feet wet in the division? We get our feet wet, we see how we do, and then we look at Terence Bud Crawford. After we see how we've done, after we assess how we feel, do we still have punching power? How's our speed? Let's correct a few things from the last fight, because this guy is a master at this, and he will more than likely take advantage of all the shortcomings that you've shown in the past. So I don't necessarily like this fight for him. I get it, the weight is hard for you to make, but that does not mean you jump in deeper water. That does not mean you go from fighting sharks to fighting killer whales. That doesn't mean you do that. No, you take your time. You assess where you are. You need to take your time and try to figure things out. But I definitely think he needs to go back to the drawing board. I think there's a lot of things that need correcting. And I think somebody like a Terence Crawford, who just has more than enough tools in a tool shed to play around with somebody like Josh Taylor. Not only do I think that Terence Crawford gets Josh Taylor out of there, I think he gets Josh Taylor out of the fight before round 5. I think he gets him out of there extremely early. Another thing that would worry me, looking at, the way Taylor fights, he doesn't adjust. He will not adjust. And I've said this several times in several different videos. There are guys who will adjust to the madness. And then there are guys who will say, no, I'm just going to tuck my head in low and I'm going to go back in and I'm going to continue to do my thing until my thing becomes effective or my thing wins out in the end. And Terence Crawford is not the guy to try that approach with. Number one, it's not going to work. Number two, Terence Crawford will be continually adjusting himself. Now, if he's adjusting and you're not adjusting, he's going to get the drop on you because you're not adjusting. He's trying things out. He's seeing what's going to work, and then he's going to fully commit and implement that on you. And if you're not doing that because you're just so dead set on what you've been doing, like what Josh Taylor did against Catterall, that's not going to fly. It's just not going to fly. So do I agree that Josh Taylor should probably go up in size? Absolutely. I mean, he did not look healthy. And, you're going to have thyroid problems in the future if you continue going down this road. So, yeah, absolutely. Go up in weight. But to go that deep in the water, your first time out in this division, listen, it's just 7 pounds, but the punching power is different. With just 7 pounds, the punching power is different. And the thing is this, that speed is not that different. From 40 to 47, the speed's not that different. But the punching power is different. Remember that. The punching power is different. And Josh Taylor being who Josh Taylor is, he's going to want to wrestle. And my goodness, that is not going to play well with Terence Crawford. He's a lot stronger than he looks. And he constantly has to remind people, I'm a lot stronger than I look. And he's proven it time and time again, all the way back when he fought Jeff Horn. And Jeff Horn just thought he was just going to muscle him around and bully him around the ring. And none of that happened. Shawn Porter thought he was going to do the same thing. None of that happened. And I would be surprised. Listen, there's just no way you're going to go from 140, go up to 47. Now, granted, by nature, Terence Crawford is not a natural 147 pounder. But he's a strong guy, and he fills in very well. And where he lacks in overall size, he makes up for it in skill, in technique, precision, timing. These are the things that he makes up for. Okay, so strategy. These are the things that he makes it up with. So it doesn't really matter if, maybe you two do kind of mesh out pretty well in terms of size. When he has all those other things, who needs size? If I have all these other attributes and these talents, I don't need size. So that's just my thoughts. I mean, I really, do I understand if he wants to move up? Absolutely. Because, it will affect your performance if you're going in that depleted as he did against Catterall. But I don't want to take anything away from Catterall. I think Catterall was doing an excellent job boxing, tripling up the jabs and all that. So I don't want to take anything from him. But I will say, if you come in that depleted, if you look that much of a skeleton, it very well has an effect on the way you fight. So if you want to move up, by all means move up. However, find an opponent that you can gauge where you are in your skill level, in your strength, in your speed, and your punch intake. How much can you take at this weight? Because it's different. You need to know those things. So those are my thoughts. What do you think about Josh Taylor moving up to 147 pounds? But not only that, what do you think about Josh Taylor facing off against Terence Bud Crawford? Drop your comments down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. As always, please like, please share, and please subscribe to my channel.